Reserve Bank of India is to maintain price stability while supporting or keeping in mind the objective of growth. Price stability is important for the people because it affects their purchasing power. It is important for stability of businesses. It is important for exporters and importers. It is important for every segment of the economy. So price stability is important. At the same time, growth is also very important. As an economy, India has been growing in the last 3 years at more than 8%. Growth, that is the GDP growth, the growth of the gross domestic product, is also very important. And as provided in the law, it is always our effort at the Reserve Bank of India, it is also the effort of the Monetary Policy Committee to follow the provision of the law as embedded, as provided for in the Reserve Bank of India in letter and spirit. So with these opening remarks, I present before you the monetary policy statement of today. And this is how it goes. As we stand at the threshold of 2025, let me reflect upon the eventful journey of 2024. In line with the trend in the last few years, central banks were once again put to the ultimate test to stabilize their economies against continuous, colossal, and complex shocks. Central banks are constantly adapting to the new global economic and financial landscape created by geopolitical conflicts, geoeconomic fragmentation, financial market volatility, and continuing uncertainties, all of which are testing the resilience of the global economy. The last mile of disinflation is turning out to be prolonged and arduous, both for the advanced economies as well as the emerging market economies, that is the EMEs. Maintaining macroeconomic and financial stability and building buffers continue to be the lodestar, especially for the emerging market economies. In India, notwithstanding the recent aberration in growth and inflation trajectories, the economy continues its journey on a sustained and balanced path towards progress. Amidst the reshaping of the global economy, India is well positioned to benefit from the emerging trends as it forges ahead on a transformative journey. Let me now turn to the decisions and deliberations of the Monetary Policy Committee, which met on 4th, 5th, and today 6th December. After detailed assessment of the evolving macroeconomic and financial developments and the outlook, because monetary policy is forward-looking, so we have to always look at the outlook, the Monetary Policy Committee decided by a majority of 4:2 to keep the policy repo rate unchanged at 6.5%. Consequently, the standing deposit facility, that is SDF rate, remains at 6.25%, and the marginal standing facility, that is the MSF rate, and the bank rate at 6.75%. The MPC also decided unanimously to continue with the neutral stance and to remain unambiguously focused on a durable alignment of inflation with the target while supporting growth. I shall now briefly set out the rationale for these decisions. The MPC took note of the recent slowdown in the growth momentum, which translates into a downward revision in the growth forecast for the current year. Going forward into the second half of this year and the next year, the MPC assessed the growth outlook to be resilient, but warranting close monitoring. Inflation, on the other hand, surged above the upper tolerance band of 6% in October, driven by a sharp uptick in food inflation. Food inflation pressures are likely to linger in Q3 of the current financial year and start easing only from the Q4 of the current financial year, that is from January to March. And we expect that this is the trend, and it will be backed by seasonal correction in vegetables prices, Kharif harvest arrivals, likely good Rabi output, and adequate cereal buffer stocks. High inflation reduces the disposable income in the hands of consumers and dents private consumption, which negatively impacts the real GDP growth. The increasing incidence of adverse weather events, heightened geopolitical uncertainties, and financial market volatility pose upside risks to inflation. The MPC believes that only with durable price stability can strong foundations be secured for high growth. The MPC remains committed to restoring the inflation growth balance. I repeat, the MPC remains committed to restoring the inflation growth balance in the overall interest of the economy. Accordingly, the MPC decided to keep the policy repo rate unchanged at 6.5% in this meeting, and also to continue with the neutral stance of monetary policy, as it provides flexibility to monitor and assess the outlook on inflation and growth, and then go on to act appropriately. I would now like to provide an assessment of growth and inflation, and I would like to begin with the global growth scenario. The global economy has shown unusual resilience in 2024, despite several headwinds. Inflation is gradually moving towards the target from its multi-decadal highs, prompting several central banks to embark on policy pivots. Global trade remains resilient, with increasing volumes confined within geographical blocks. Since the last MPC meeting, financial markets have remained edgy amidst rising US dollar and hardening bond yields, resulting in large capital outflows from emerging markets and also in volatility in equity markets. Going forward, the outlook is clouded by rising tendencies of protectionism. I'm talking about the global economy. Going forward, the outlook is clouded by rising tendencies of protectionism, which have the potential to undermine global growth and also push inflation higher. Let me now turn to the domestic growth situation. Growth in real GDP in the second quarter of this year at 5.4% turned out to be much lower than anticipated. This decline in growth was caused mainly by a substantial deceleration in the industrial growth from 7.4% in the first quarter to 2.1% in the second quarter due to subdued performance of manufacturing companies, contraction in mining activity, and lower electricity demand. The weaknesses in the manufacturing sector, however, was not broad-based, but was limited to specific sectors such as petroleum products, iron and steel, and cement. Going forward, high-frequency indicators available so far suggest that the slowdown in domestic economic activity bottomed out in the second quarter of this year, and it has since recovered, aided by strong festive demand and pickup in rural activities. Agricultural growth is supported by healthy Kharif crop production.
And so the big focus, repo rate remains unchanged. My colleague Sakshi is joining me for more details. Take us through the key highlights of this address, Sakshi.
That's right. The key highlights really, your EMIs do not change. The big headline really for our viewers sitting at home and trying to make sense of the RBI leaving the key lending rate unchanged is the fact that your EMIs do not really change. They remain status quo, they remain the same. Remember, this is the 11th consecutive time that the key lending rate has remained unchanged. This also, remember, is RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das's last address in his current term. Of course, all eyes on the government's announcement on his term extension continue to remain. in. So really the broad highlights of what the RBI governor has said. He has said that, look, geopolitical tensions have sort of made the global economy at large, far more resilient. So there an address of course, an acknowledgement of the geopolitical tensions, an acknowledgement of inflation rising above the RBI's tolerance band in October. And RBI governor very clearly saying that food inflation concerns in the near term may persist, but in the long run, the structural plan really of balancing inflation and growth remains a key mandate and something the RBI will, of course, along with the MPC, closely look at. So going forward, this is of course a structural picture being given that the balance of inflation and growth will be looked at, will be tweaked, but at the moment, very, very clearly the RBI governor stating the inflation concerns, the geopolitical concerns, so really the challenges that the domestic and the global economy is facing in the near term.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sakshi, with those updates. Now it is the day 10 of Parliament's winter session today. A political controversy erupted on Thursday after one Bharatiya Janata Party lawmaker attempted to link billionaire George Soros with leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi, and another called him a traitor, triggering protests from the Congress. The opposition party demanded an apology and forced adjournment in the House after BJP lawmaker Nishikant Dubey sought to know if Gandhi had connections with forces trying to derail India's growth in trajectory. In the Rajya Sabha, BJP member Sudhanshu Trivedi alleged that there was a concerted effort by foreign hands to derail the Viksit Bharat or the developed India agenda of the BJP. BJP MP Nishikant Dubey in Parliament levelled a slew of allegations saying the Congress was working with the Organised Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, a global journalism project backed by George Soros' Open Society Foundation, and was trying to disrupt Parliament and derail the government. He also asked 10 questions to Rahul Gandhi, alleging that there is a clear triangular link to destabilize India. BJP's response came after a French newspaper, Mediapart, published a report on December 2 titled "The Hidden Links Between a Giant of Investigative Journalism and the US Government," which alleged that Soros funded OCCRP. BJP claimed that there was a dangerous triangular nexus between OCCRP, George Soros and Rahul Gandhi. BJP's claim, meanwhile, drew sharp response from Congress. Congress MP Manikam Tagore wrote to Birla expressing deep concern over Patra allegedly using slanderous language against Rahul Gandhi and sought stringent action. Tagore alleged that Patra's conduct was a clear violation of the decorum and ethics expected of a member of parliament. Even Shashi Tharoor has urged the parliament to expunge the remarks of Nishikant Dubey. Listen in to the reactions coming in.
जब से भारत श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में एक उभरती हुई सामरिक, आर्थिक और कूटनीतिक शक्ति बनकर उभरा है, तब से यह बहुत सहज रूप से देखा जाने लगा है, विशेषकर विगत 3 वर्षों से, जब से भारत को विकसित भारत बनाने का लक्ष्य रखा गया है, कि विदेश की बहुत सी ऐसी गतिविधियां हैं जो भारत की व्यवस्था के आर्थिक पक्ष, भारत की व्यवस्था के नैतिक पक्ष, सामाजिक पक्ष पर आक्रमण कर रही हैं.
Going to talk about this dangerous triangle which is trying to destabilize India. और ये जो त्रिकोण है, इसमें एक तरफ अमेरिका में बैठे जॉर्ज सोरोस, उनकी फाउंडेशन है, कुछ अमेरिका की एजेंसीज भी हैं. त्रिकोण के एक बहुत बड़ी न्यूज पोर्टल है जिसका नाम OCCRP, ऑर्गेनाइज्ड क्राइम एंड करप्शन रिपोर्टिंग प्रोजेक्ट. त्रिकोण के जो आखिरी कोने में, जो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण कोना जो हिंदुस्तान से संबंध रखता है, उस कोने में राहुल गांधी है.
Mr. Nishikant Dubey made an outrageous statement in which he violated at least 3 clear rules of the parliament. Number 1, you cannot attack people in a defamatory manner. Number 2, you cannot take anyone's name without giving them notice in writing in advance. And number 3, you cannot assault the parliamentary privilege of an MP. He violated all those 3 rules, and he was allowed to go on speaking and ranting for quite some time. So we objected to that. The House was initially adjourned. We went to see the Speaker and we said, look, this has to be expunged from the record. The person must apologize. You can't do this kind of thing. That has still not happened.
Aishwarya, take us through the political hot potato that this report has been between BJP and the Congress.
Well, after the entire controversy which erupted inside the parliament yesterday, it was, of course, Congress MPs who met the Lok Sabha Speaker and urged the Lok Sabha Speaker to expunge the remarks that were made by Mr. Nishikant Dubey in the Lok Sabha. But it was just not Nishikant Dubey inside the lower house of the parliament, but it was Sudhanshu Trivedi in the Rajya Sabha who raised up this issue, and also Sambit Patra conducting a press conference outside. After which we saw late in the night Congress MP Manikam Tagore wrote to Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla expressing deep concerns over Sambit Patra's allegedly using slanderous language against leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi in the press conference, and also sought stringent action against the Bharatiya Janata Party MP. Now, in this letter, we have been told what Manikam Tagore had written is that he alleged that Patra's conduct was a clear violation of a decorum and ethics expected of a member of parliament. He also stated in his letter that there should be strictest action that should be taken against Mr. Sambit Patra for using such derogatory remarks against the leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi. Now, remember, there was a press conference that Sambit Patra conducted yesterday in which he alleged and cited a report published by a French media outlet, Mediapart, to target Mr. Rahul Gandhi. After the ruling party raised the issue in the Lok Sabha as well, Sambit Patra claimed that the billionaire investor, Mr. George Soros, and some of the US-based agencies, that is the OCCRP, that is the Organized Crime Corruption Reporting Project, and Rahul Gandhi occupy three sides of a dangerous triangle trying to destabilize India. Sudhanshu Trivedi in Rajya Sabha also stated about the chronology that whenever there is a parliament session, such reports comes out, and the Congress party tried to corner the government, and this all leads to the disruption. This all leads to a non-functioning of the parliament, and that's what the western part of the country wants, and Rahul Gandhi is a part of it. Certainly, it was the Congress leaders who outside the parliament protested. There were demonstrations that were held, and a request to this Lok Sabha Speaker was also made. Today, it's a 10th day of the winter session of Parliament, and the Congress leaders have made it clear that they will be again approaching the Lok Sabha Speaker. They will be cornering the government over such allegations which are baseless according to them. It remains to be seen that how things continue in the Parliament, whether there would be some functioning, because two important legislative bills are to be tabled in the lower house of the Parliament as far as the Disaster Management Amendment Bill, the Railway Amendment Bill. On the other side, there are some private bills that are also to be tabled as far as the Rajya Sabha is concerned.
Absolutely.
But certainly, in the first week of winter session of Parliament, there was no functioning because of the ruckus. There was some work that was done in the initial phase of the second week of the winter session of Parliament, but again now same disruption, same logjam can be witnessed in both the houses of the Parliament.
Absolutely, Aishwarya. As the Parliament pandemonium continues, there are bills that are tabled, there are bills waiting for clearance. Thank you so much for joining us, Aishwarya. I also have with me Sajjan Kumar, political analyst, and Aditi Fadnis, who is a senior journalist on this. Sajjan Kumar, firstly, you know, the Parliament is in session, the winter session. There was a meeting that was held in Lok Sabha with Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla. Still, the pandemonium continues. There are several bills awaiting clearance. What will happen today?
Yeah, I mean, I do expect some sort of a mix between the protest politics and the legislative business, because that seems to be the new trend in parliamentary democracy. So you have some sort of a compromise and consensus, but that's only a part of the story, because another part happens to be the rising trend of the protest politics. And that is why while the banking amendment bill was passed, and thereafter because of the Soros remark, there was adjournment. So I think today we expect that there would be a heated exchange between the treasury benches and the opposition on that issue, because none other than leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi has been attacked. This is one. But nevertheless, what we are witnessing in the winter parliament session and the session before also, it's a symptom of a new emerging trend, wherein kind of this expectation that business is going to return to the old mode of normal legislative functioning I do not think that's going to happen, because across the globe we see emerging parallel trend which is competing with each other between the parliamentary mode of politics and the protest politics, And now earlier the civil society used to take care of the protest politics part, while the parliamentary politics had the separate, and they used to have their own autonomy. Now you see there is a mix, and I think this is the mix and which generates the kind of debate which is now coming with the Soros sort of framework. Earlier also we had the Rajiv Malhotra's Breaking India framework, and now with the CPM and CPI acquiring a backseat, you do see lots many left-centric activists landing on Congress platform. So that also gives credence to such allegation, at least in terms of the popular perception. So do expect some heated exchange.
Right.
Perhaps within a couple of days again, it will be back to some sort of normalcy.
Aditi Fadnis, we are seeing this protest versus protest politics. The BJP goes on to accuse Congress of working with anti-India forces. Congress is accusing BJP of not letting the Congress or the opposition function or raise the objective questions. How do we see it, following this? Will we see another waste of winter session, or will we see some constructive dialogue?
Well, first of all, let's understand the way Parliament functions. You cannot name persons who are not present in Parliament, who are not members, on the floor of the House, because they are not there to defend themselves. You cannot introduce publications which are not authenticated by members who are naming these publications. You cannot introduce, you cannot attack privileges of a member of Parliament. These are all rules which the BJP has used in the past when it was in the opposition, and the Congress has used lately when it is a part of the opposition. So, if you're going to raise issues which are extraneous to the business of the House, which are not permitted by the rules of the conduct of the House, to which everybody is a party, then the Speaker has to intervene and has to strike this down. In the current case, what is happening is all the allegations are being made, in a sense, as provocation, to basically get Congress to get up and start protesting. And at the same time, the names are not being named on the floor of the House. Sambit Patra's press conference outside Parliament House, outside the two houses of Parliament, was the one that set off the trigger. So it seems that the BJP is not, as a ruling party, it's not as innocent as it looks. It is trying to provoke the Congress, recognizing that this kind of disruption is quite unpopular in popular perception, and as a result it is seen as counterproductive and as seen as anti-democracy. This is all part of the game. We have seen this happen in the past also. We saw this during the Bofors crisis, etc. So I mean, this is all parliamentary tactics, and despite this, work does tend to get done. 2 bills have already been passed in the last couple of days. And more bills will be passed, I'm quite sure of it.
Okay. Aditi Fadnis, I take your point. Sajjan Kumar, this is not the first time that the Congress party is being haunted by the name of George Soros. Time and again, allegations have been levelled against the Congress party. How do you see, should there be a clear statement from the Congress party upon their alleged link with George Soros? This report that has been published do highlight how his funded organization is carrying out investigations in several countries.
Yeah, that may be one of the way to respond, but I do not think that's going to settle the dust, because we have to take into account this is not just India specific. George Soros thing is just a part of the framing of a discourse that has emerged, as I told you, because even in US you see when Trump and Elon Musk, they are together, and the way the legacy media is being attacked and their linkages with the civil society and academia. So that also is sort of a trend that you find that recently when Congress started taking a clearly leftward shift, from what you call the centrism. Thereafter, you find many left-centric activism are there, and Rahul Gandhi abroad visit into Western academia and the kind of narratives that they raised, which Congress brings back. Now, that has also created a lot of churning within the Congress between the top leadership and the regional satraps. So that is why, be it on the Adani, be it on the matter of kind of economic survey, be it the constitutional narrative. There are internal churning happening within the Congress also. But I do not think that Congress trying to come out clean on the Soros issue is going to be an end of the issue, because this is, I mean, to me, I think that we are already entering into a phase which should be treated as a new normal, wherein you do see such sort of a protest politics and parliamentary politics trying to find a balance. This is going to intensify. This is going to, it is going to have some shelf life, and therefore I think whether Congress come out clean or not, it will lead to a further provocation, and then there would be a counter rebuttal. So that sort of thing, we have to take that whether the parliament going to function or not. Yes, of course it will function, but it is not going to return back to the kind of deliberative culture which is romanticized. This is the new era, and you do expect there is going to be acrimonious exchange, and the legislative business will learn to, continue amidst this larger frame of the protest politics.
Well, thank you so much, Sajjan Kumar and Aditi Fadnis, for joining us. I hope there is some harmony between the treasury benches and the opposition, that they find out. But at 11 o'clock, the House will resume. We'll see what happens. Will there be business or showdown? And now shifting our focus, it is the death anniversary of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar today. PM Modi paid floral tribute to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, whom he hails as the architect of the Indian Constitution. Other members of the parliament also paid their tributes. Meanwhile, a special event was organized in Maharashtra. Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis, Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar and Eknath Shinde also paid tribute to B.R. Ambedkar. Listen into what Maharashtra Chief Minister had to say.
This government will take every community together, and such government will always be beneficial.
आज आपण सर्व लोक या ठिकाणी महामानव भारतरत्न डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर यांना अभिवादन करण्याकरता आलो आहोत. आणि आपल्याला सर्वांना याची कल्पना आहे की आज आपला देश अत्यंत वेगाने प्रगती करतो आहे. जगातली 5वी सर्वात मोठी अर्थव्यवस्था आज भारत झाला आहे. जगातली 3री मोठी अर्थव्यवस्था होतोय. याचं सर्व श्रेय जर कोणाचं असेल तर ते श्रेय भारतरत्न डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकरांनी जे संविधान आपल्याला दिलं त्या संविधानाचं हे श्रेय आहे.
Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar speaks on the China disengagement, says that they need to sit down and rebuild the relationship as both the states shared a stable relationship. He said that we had a stable relationship with China and hope that this stable relationship continues in the future to benefit both the nations. Listen in.
Japan is today revitalizing its semiconductor sector. And India, after a very long period of neglect, actually is also, we've announced a semiconductor mission. So there are, to me, I'm seeing the beginnings of something potentially important here and potentially really significant for both countries. This is such a vital field, which is going to be.
And Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis and his two deputies, Eknath Shinde and Ajit Pawar, took oath yesterday. But all eyes are now on the portfolio allocation and power sharing formula in the new Mahayuti government. Fadnavis said they have nearly decided the portfolio allocation among the alliance partners, but need to have another round of consultations before announcing it. Now, there is a key meeting at Maharashtra Chief Minister's residence at 11 o'clock today. Sources in the Mahayuti said that according to the broadly discussed portfolio allocation formula, out of total 43 portfolios, 24 will be kept by the BJP as they are the single largest party with 132 seats, while 10 will be given to the Shinde-led Shiv Sena that has 57 MLAs and 9 to the Pawar-led NCP that has 41 MLAs in the 288-member state assembly. Listen in to what they have to say.
The government will take every community together, and such government will always be beneficial for the state.
हा विश्वास मला आहे. मी आपल्या सगळ्यांची देखील या प्रयत्नांमध्ये साथ
We'll tackle all the challenges that will be ahead of us
एक प्रकारे सहकार्य
and go ahead
या
successfully.
सगळ्या प्रयत्नांमध्ये असावं अशा प्रकारचे
I asked for your support,
विनंती करतो आणि आपल्या माध्यमातून
you as journalists as well. I wish that even you, and I hope that even you will be with us in this journey for development, and through you, I want to assure the 14 crore people of Maharashtra that this government
कल्याणाकरता काम करेल हा विश्वास मी देतो.
will be speedy and transparent and will work for their goodwill.
देवेंद्र फडणवीस जी के मुख्यमंत्री पद के उन्होंने शपथ ली हुई है, उनका मैं अभिनंदन करता हूँ, तहे दिल से हृदय से अभिनंदन करता हूँ। और ऐसे राज्य का मुख्यमंत्री बनने का मौका मेरे जैसे एक सर्वसामान्य किसान परिवार में से एकनाथ शिंदे को मिला। ये आदरणीय हिंदू हृदय सम्राट बाला साहेब ठाकरे जी का, धर्मवीर आनंदी साहब जी के आशीर्वाद से मिला। और मैं ये भी कहूँगा कि आदरणीय देश के लोकप्रिय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी, इन्होंने भी हमें पूरा सहयोग किया। गृह मंत्री अमित भाई शाह जी, इन्होंने भी हर समय हमारे हर संकट में हमारे पीछे पूरी ताकत से खड़े रहे।
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
This week on India Ascends. Dhaka continues to descend into chaos. Time for New Delhi to think out of the box. Growth rate bummer. How India Inc. can bounce back. Why is Trump's team crumbling? Are these just bad appointments or is something bigger at play? And the real K-drama unfurls in Seoul politics. Why South Korea's democracy is flawed. All this and more only on India Ascends with me, Gauri Dwivedi, at these timings on the NDTV network.
He's the biggest name in the world of entertainment. He is the undisputed king of comedy. His name resonates everywhere. Meet the heartbeat of millions. Kapil Sharma. At the NDTV Indian of the Year Awards, 6 December 2024 on NDTV Network.
Becoming a member of jury of NDTV was a totally different challenge altogether.
When you recognize contribution to society, these stories are inspiration for everyone who views them.
The NDTV Indian of the Year is an extremely important initiative.
Nominees were just extraordinary.
Each one of them is a rock star.
And the achievers in this field who are inspiration for the Indians in this country have been chosen for this prestigious award.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number 1 in both online and offline reach in India, beating all its competition. NDTV stands for trust. SP Sanjeev Goenka Group presents NDTV Indian of the Year, powered by Raymond, co-powered by Gallant. It's a web of frauds, calls, luring emails, threatening messages. Cyber frauds have cast their net wide and everyone is at risk. We track the victims, their horror stories as they get conned online, extorted and robbed of their hard-earned money. How to identify a cyber fraud and how to stay cyber safe. What are your options? Fraud.con, NDTV initiative for cyber safety. Only on NDTV 24/7.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps.
And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
New day, new show, a new experience. Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your lives.
News that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai,
To the state of governance, Delhi,
NDTV brings to you the best breakfast show. The breakfast show only on NDTV 24/7 every morning at 8 a.m.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
This week on India Ascends.
Dhaka continues to descend into chaos. Time for New Delhi to think out of the box. Growth rate bummer. How India Inc. can bounce back. Why is Trump's dream crumbling? Are these just bad appointments or is something bigger at play? And the real K-drama unfurls in Seoul politics. Why South Korea's democracy is flawed.
Following a no confidence vote in the parliament. In a 10-minute address to the nation, Macron rejected the opposition pressure to stand down. He has gone on to say that he is going to stay in his post fully until the end of the mandate in 2027. He thanked the outgoing Prime Minister for his dedication during his brief term as the Prime Minister and accused the French far-right and hard-left of collaborating in an anti-Republican front to bring down the government.
I'm currently standing in the French capital, Paris, just at Place de la République, and the French President Emmanuel Macron has delivered a speech to the French people just minutes ago. The speech is important because it was the first speech that President Macron delivered after the fall of his government. The government was led by a centre-right Prime Minister, Michel Barnier, who lost the vote of confidence in the parliament. The vote resulted in a 331 to 577 against Michel Barnier, who eventually lost the vote, and his government stands toppled as of Wednesday. Today is Thursday, it's Thursday evening. President Macron has just spoken to the people, and there are a couple of key things to take away from his speech that I'm going to talk you through right now. The first thing that is important is the big question of who the next Prime Minister will be and when the next government will be appointed. Now, to quote Macron, he said that in the upcoming days, a next Prime Minister and government will be appointed. So the timeline is not clear, but he definitely said in the upcoming days, a new Prime Minister and government will be put in place. The second key takeaway is about the budget, over which the no confidence motion took place in the first place. As far as the budget is concerned, Macron said that a new budget is going to be introduced as of mid-December. Now, whether that budget is going to pass or not is of course the question in the air, and it can only be decided after a new government is put in place. So that of course also remains something to be seen. The third thing that President Macron talked about is his own tenure, which he promised he's going to serve till its end, and it ends in May of 2027. So that is the third thing that Macron talked about. Other than this, he also did not fail to take a dig at the far right as well as the left. And in saying that, he said that the right and the left got united, came together against the French Republic. He said that they undid rather than did something for the French Republic. So those are the main key takeaways from what President Emmanuel Macron has just spoken to in his televised speech to the nation for the first time after the fall of his government. The big question on who the Prime Minister is going to be still looms large, and it's going to be seen in the upcoming days as President Emmanuel Macron says who will take reins of the French government. This is Pariti Bhanot reporting for NDTV from Paris.
In other news, according to reports, Ukrainian President Zelensky's delegation met with senior representatives of the United States President-elect Donald Trump. The delegation met in Washington with Trump's choice for White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and his Ukraine ambassador Keith Kellogg. The meet is seen as an aim for Ukraine to build contacts with the incoming administration of Donald Trump, who has promised to end the war in Ukraine upon taking office. And in South Korea, the police are investigating President Yoon for allegedly insurrection over his short-lived declaration of martial law. Military officials have been questioned by MPs, and earlier President Yoon had accepted the resignation of the defense minister, who apologized for his role in Tuesday night's shock move that Yoon has not publicly spoken since an emergency vote in Parliament early on Wednesday forced him to reverse his decision and is under pressure to resign. And various of the buildings of South Korea's National Assembly's national flag there. I mean, of course, this is what has been taking place. South Koreans poured into the streets of central Seoul to protest against President Yoon for declaring martial law. Yoon is facing an impeachment vote following the stunning but brief imposition of martial law that brought armed troops into the streets of Seoul. The Democratic Party and other small opposition parties submitted a joint motion to impeach Yoon on Wednesday over his martial law declaration the previous night. In an exclusive chat with NDTV, the German Consul General in Kolkata, Barbara Vos, has spoken about the progress of the Indo-German Partnership for Green and Sustainable Development. Now, this has been established in 2022 following the signing of the Indo-German Partnership for Green and Sustainable Development by Indian Prime Minister Modi and German Chancellor Scholz. This is a landmark partnership providing a framework for enhanced cooperation between India and Germany, aligning their efforts with the Sustainable Development Goals of the 2030 Agenda and the Paris Agreement.
The Indo-German Partnership for Green and Sustainable Development was signed between Prime Minister Modi and Chancellor Scholz. And of course, joining me now is the German Consul General in Kolkata. Ma'am, very quickly, this is an interesting, sort of partnership between two countries. And what are the areas that the GSDP is now really taken off? And if you could mention some of these projects that are making an impact.
Yeah, thank you very much. So you mentioned the right word already. It's a partnership, so it's not that one party is saying, okay, we do this and that, and the other is just following. So it's agreed, it was signed, as you said, by Prime Minister Modi and our Chancellor in 2022. And so then afterwards, like the Indian and the German side sat together and they agreed on the most important areas of cooperation and on the projects as well. And as I said as well, I mean, for us it is also very important to always mention that a lot of projects are happening as well in the 11 states here in the East and in the Far East that are under our jurisdiction of the German Consulate General. So that was the reason why as well it was important for us that we have the conversation series here today to make sure that 300 million people of India are also included in this partnership. And as you heard today, I mean, there's a lot going on, sustainability in agriculture, women empowerment, and a lot of areas where like crops are used, that are adapted to climate change, and that you use like less chemicals in agriculture. So these are all very important areas, and they suit, our area here because it's an agricultural area, and we would like to make sure that women can really earn their living on their own, and that changes not only their standing in the society, but it makes it as well easier for them to send their children to school if they earn money, and then you have this link to education and as well to livelihood. So, and that's what we are doing.
Absolutely. And, Prime Minister Modi on several occasions has also spoken about, Viksit Bharat 2047, which is India's developmental goals for 2047. And, gender is such an important part and conversation to have around green and sustainable development partnerships between India and Germany. So in that context, what was the conversation like, and where are we as far as those areas are concerned?
Yeah, I mean, we all agreed that there's still a lot to be done, but that a lot of things were achieved already, so which is always good to state. And then we agreed as well that we have to include all parts of society, so LGBTQI community is also very important to include, and it's very difficult for all of them to have access to loans. I mean, financing is very important, because if you want to start something or a small business, for example, you need to have some money in order to be able to start it. That was the reason why it was also important that KfW, our development bank, was represented, and as well GIZ, of course, the two implementing partners of German development cooperation. And I think this all goes hand in hand as well with UN Women. They are also a very important partner in our development cooperation. And I think this only works if we all work together, and everybody is like doing their part wherever they have their expertise.
And finally, one last question. There are concerns over meeting climate goals, or even the commitment to climate goals in some, some of the Western democracies as well. Germany and India have a very strong partnership. But do you see any sort of roadblocks, stumbling blocks anywhere?
Of course, I mean, the budget is always a problem. I mean, everywhere. Not only the discussions now in Baku, but as well loss and damage in Dubai. It's difficult to reach the goals that everybody says, or all the experts tell us, the money that we will need. This is a difficult time, of course. I mean, not only with a lot of crises around the world, but as well, I mean, with us, we have government crisis, we don't have a budget, and we have constraints as well with our economy. So a lot of challenges everywhere. But I think as well, especially in India, I think we all agree that none of us can reach our goals without India. I mean, India is a very, very important player and an important partner, and that's the reason why we are also so happy that we have the GSDP with India. But I mean, of course, there are a lot of challenges ahead, and it won't be easy. But I mean, we all have to work for it, because I mean, we only have one world, and so it's in our common interest to do whatever we can. And we are very committed to reaching our goals, even though it will be difficult for us as well. And we don't blame anybody else that they can't do it, but the contrary is right. We would like to work together in order to achieve all our goals together.
Thank you so much for speaking to NDTV.
Thank you very much. for having me. Thank you.
In other news, Elon Musk's XAI has raised $6 billion in new capital, according to a regulatory filing wrapping up